going to talk to Corey.
Cool.
What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing?
So I met Corey yesterday, and then we hung out at the hotel for a little while. Then we hung out at the hotel a little while again. He didn't stay up anywhere near as late as I did again.
Yeah, some people dragged me back out to the hotel bar at some point.
Yeah, we were down there until it closed.
Oh,
Honey, swear I went to bed.
We're all working really hard.
Yeah, well, no, you know what? Everybody here is. I mean, this is awesome. I mean, did you know how big this is going to be before you got here?
I mean, I had heard rumors about the destroyed bus.
Tell me that's not cool, right?
Oh, that's unbelievable. I never seen anything like that.
That's the one thing. Well, it's funny because that was the first thing placed on the floor before we put anything else. So everybody's walking by going.
Yeah, it was really exciting to me as a developer to see all this great stuff. Like seeing Dubai behind me here just remind me how awesome the city is.
Dude, this is awesome. And for the record, we had to raise and lower that 16 times because my camera wouldn't work. I felt so bad for those guys. I'm like, I'm really, really sorry.
Totally worth it.
But no, yeah, this is awesome, man. Like, I asked if I could have these when I'm done because I want to wrap my house in both of them.
Now, everybody's been asking for that.
I mean, they look really cool, or like a really big bed sheet.
If you wrap your house in it, they might think you had some sort of Dubai termites or something.
Maybe.
No,
Yeah, like the big tents. Yeah, very cool. So, I'm actually gonna let her ask a few questions because she's a little bit better than. I don't want to be like, so, what's the multiplayer all about? And you're like, I can't tell you because that doesn't work. Even though they want to know and you can't find out yet. So
soon
we're gonna talk a little. Let's talk a little bit about the game.
Yes.
First off, let's talk a little bit about what you do for the company. Like,
Sure.
Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Corey Davis and I'm the lead designer on the project. So I manage the design team directly.
He drinks a lot of coffee and tells people what to do.
Yes, I do that. And you know,
and you guys are in Germany.
Yeah, we're in Germany.
Right?
We're in Berlin, Germany.
Yeah.
And so like I'm involved with all the creative aspects of the project as well. So
that's awesome.
Involved with, you know, getting involved with the different leads in the different departments that we have, like animation and tech.
Yeah.
And
well, what was the timeline for like you guys on this?
So I arrived in Berlin about 3 years ago, actually. And so we were pretty early in the project then. And actually, 2K had some really strong goals from the start when I arrived. That's why, you know, I was willing to go over to Germany to work on this because to me it was a really interesting take on a military shooter, which I was super excited to work on.
I've yet to get my hands on it. I will be sometime today, at least 4 times. So, yeah, it looks great, man. I mean,
thanks a lot.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so, how large is the team?
The team is just over 100 people in Berlin.
That's the single player team, correct?
Or is it? Well, we're all together. So.
But I mean, do you guys kind of share responsibilities, or you got to split it down the middle? Like this is multiplayer.
We also have a dedicated multiplayer team.
That's cool.
And then we've got some QA teams in different locations as well, working with 2K.
Very cool, man.
Thanks a lot.
I am. Do you need any help in Germany, man? Like, you know, they. Like, hey, did they really have to twist your arm to go to Germany, dude?
No, they didn't.
I mean, you're in Berlin, Germany. I'm just thinking, I'm a beer guy, so it's like, hey, that's awesome. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, when I got to Germany, actually, I didn't know what to expect. It's my first time traveling overseas.
Really?
And since I've been there, it's been an unbelievable experience. Berlin is so cool. It's so young and vibrant. And if you like beer, like you can just take it on the subway.
And the game development scene in Europe is like getting big.
It's really taking
There's a
off.
lot of companies, man. It's turning into like the west coast of Europe. It's crazy.
When I first arrived in Berlin, there was hardly any game development going on, and now I see just developers popping up everywhere.
PAX UK.
It could happen.
I actually have a question from the stream about the team.
Sure.
Somebody was wondering about concept artists. How many do you have, or how many people are working on that kind of stuff?
So we actually worked with a pretty large group of them throughout the project. We have some architectural designers and some product designers as well. So if you look at a lot of our like billboards and ads throughout Dubai, those are designed by people that really know what they're doing with that stuff. So we wanted it to be as authentic as we could. And then also like cover objects like cars and things like that. We can't use like direct rip-offs of Ferraris and things like that.
Yes.
So we have designers in-house that are really trying to emulate that opulence in the vehicles as well. So we have actually unique original artwork going into all of those things.
That's actually a question that I was very interested in. Dubai is such a spectacular and unique city. How did you guys design your Dubai? Because it's not the real Dubai.
Sure. We want it to be as authentic as we could. Like, you're going to see a lot of things that are actually in Dubai. The nice thing about Dubai is that it really has sort of a paradigm that they've set up for the way that the buildings look, the way that they're set up in the city. We follow this road called Sheikh Zayed Road, which is actually a real road in Dubai.
Yeah.
It's a 16-lane highway that has sort of a canyon of skyscrapers on both sides. And so that's sort of our river into the heart of darkness in Spec Ops: The Line. And you know, we do have a lot of elements that are actually there, natural things that are there around the city, and landmarks that you're going to be able to pick out. But we have our own twist on those things as well. We wanted to take it to a sort of hyper-real scenario where we could really express the essence of what Dubai is to us.
And so, one of the things that I think is tough for a lot of games, especially realistic games, is making a palette that's monotone. Obviously,
Sure.
we have sand, which of course is its own challenge, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But you have some beautiful, lush settings. What spaces are those, and how did you guys decide what to build and how to vary everything?
Yeah, well, from the start of the project, we really wanted to avoid this sort of brown shooter, desaturated look.
Yep.
It would be a real shame to portray Dubai that way, because Dubai is not that way, actually. It has all these beautiful materials like glass and marble and gold and reflections and things like that. And you know, the sand that's there actually is entombed a number of these spaces. So you may be walking on top of a sand dune and fall into a hotel lobby that's full of crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, you know, just beautiful opulent spaces like crystal peacocks and things like that that you're actually taking cover behind in the game. So there's a really interesting cover shooter scenario as well, avoiding a lot of these sort of blocky concrete cover objects and things like that.
So for sand as well, how do you make that work? How do you make it feel like you are, you know, breathing in this dust, choking on sand, but also make it something that's beautiful and playable?
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't impede gameplay, but enhances it.
Yeah, it gives us a lot of opportunities. Actually, first we started doing research actually in the region. Our military advisor is located in Oman, and that's actually where my parents live as well. So sort of a happy coincidence, just a 3-hour drive from Dubai. So I had the chance to shoot weaponry in like the 40-degree heat in the desert and see how that affected me, and also talk with him a lot about those things. Also, he's experienced a lot of these sandstorms in combat as well. So he told us like some stories about how a sandstorm to him, being in the middle of it, was like having a hot air dryer in his mouth turned on high. And so yeah, we wanted this to express this heat and also the power of the storms, but at the same time, like, sand doesn't have to be brown. We put a lot of effort into making sure that like light diffuses through it in a really beautiful way, like it does in real life, and tried to avoid sort of the easy choices you can make to just make everything consistent by desaturating it. So it adds this sort of element of yellows and oranges and pinks that you're going to see throughout the campaign, that with the contrast of the architecture looks really, really cool.
So what are some of your favorite aspects of the game that you worked on? You know, was it a specific building, level, situation? Was there a challenge that you really cared about?
Well, the thing to me, like I mentioned a moment ago, from the start of the project, we had a focus to make a really dark and mature take on the soldier's story. And like everything I've ever worked on in the past, I've tried to push in that dark direction. That's something that's really intriguing to me. I'm a huge horror fan. And then, you know, a lot of the films that we were referencing about stories that soldiers told when they got home from the war in Vietnam, for example, like in Apocalypse Now and Deer Hunter, and a number of these films, Full Metal Jacket that came out. So to me, it was the ability to tell this unflinching take on the stories that we had heard reference from our military advisor, and you know, from these films and things like that, and be able to, you know, focus on the dark side of these conflicts that we know are out there.
Yeah. In terms of the characters themselves, there are a lot of different groups of people in this game. Some of which, you know, I mean, obviously there's your squad, there's the damn 33rd, the people left in Dubai. How did you make them come to life?
Well, we really wanted this feeling of ambiguity to be there in all of the scenarios. So there's not a clear-cut bad guy in this game ever, and so we really wanted to make sure that the player encountered sort of a different side of his enemy throughout the experience. And so you'll start to see that actually a lot of the reason that fighting is going on in Dubai is because of mistaken identity between these factions that are there. So they may all have goals that are good goals in their own minds from their perspective and to complete their objectives. But at the same time, when you see that other side of what's actually happening there and how it affects people, especially the survivors and the civilians that are found within these conflicts that are going on, it starts to get really interesting. And so actually it was a really big challenge to have multiple factions that are all against the player's faction, and to be able to tell that story in a way that really hit home with people. So that was something that took a hell of a lot of focus testing and refining, the way that the characters speak to each other, the different events that we focus on in the game and things like that. So it was a long journey actually to get to the point where we really felt like we had a very understandable but also ambiguous story and scenario.
So that's one thing that I think a lot of people don't get to hear about a lot. You talk about QA and you talk about focus testing.
Yeah.
How does focus testing, especially with this game, how did it change the gameplay, especially for single player and the spaces? Because I think that people don't always realize how spaces are designed and then go through all these iterations.
Sure. Well, with our spaces, we started with actually real-world architecture from Dubai, but then obviously we do a lot of focus testing to make sure the gameplay really comes through in the best way possible and still expresses that architecture that's there. One of the things that we do is we use a lot of different techniques in our focus tests to track the way that players interact in the environment. So we use what's called heat maps, where we can see where different events are happening, and we can actually track a lot of different things in parallel and try and understand the experience that the player's having, not just by whether he says he likes it or not, or what problems he had along the way, but actually understand why he likes it and why he had those issues, or why he had that great experience in that one moment, and how we can influence other players to also end up in that same location. And so it's a back and forth between gut feeling, actually, and sort of debates that started at the beginning of the project, and then having to make a lot of tough decisions and saying, actually, I was wrong on that thing, because the data shows me this, and now I understand why I was wrong, and now we can make better decisions as we progress. So it's a learning experience for us, and it always is when you have such a unique environment that you're portraying.
How do you balance the idea of what you say, the gut and the data? Because you could go all the way and just say, well, I'm going to just crowdsource this whole thing.
Sure.
How do you decide what you're going to rely on for data, and you're going to say, no, I'm going to take an artistic or other approach to it, even if something's showing it this way? I still think the experience will be better if I go that route.
Sure. Well, the first thing that you always start with that is the goals of the project. If you have really strong, high-level goals from the start of the project, before pre-production even, then that can really allow you to determine where you're willing to go with your gut feeling and where you're willing to step out and make innovations. And in other areas where you just need to realize, okay, we're not doing the right thing in this moment. We need to change. And so I think if you're able to sort of contextualize those goals that you have with every conversation that you're having and every debate that you're having, and then also take that data that you receive and put it in that light as well, it really helps. And also, it comes from a mutual respect from the different developers that are on the team. We each have our own roles on the team, and as we progress further and further into development, those become more defined, and we begin to say, okay, if my lead animator tells me this thing, then I'm going to believe him, because these 3 other experiences I've had tell me that he knows more about that than I do. And so everyone needs to really come together in a collaborative way. But it's a challenge as well. You want to avoid groupthink, and you definitely want to avoid a scenario where your focus test is just entirely developing your game for you. There's some examples of that actually throughout development. A lot of people ask us why we put our vault mechanic on B, for example. Because like Gears of War, for example, has it on A, and a lot of cover shooters do. Well, for us, we wanted to be able to use the unique environment in an interesting way and allow you to vault over objects without ever taking cover on them. And also we provide a vault kick move, so if you use that as a melee move, you can kick enemies out of cover and set them up for an execution or a quick kill. So like if we would have just gone with focus testing from players that hadn't played the whole game or had only played a little bit of the game, we would have made the other choice. I'm really happy we did. It gave us a great opportunity.
That's one of those things that I think we're going to want to write down later, because I can guarantee that as we move closer, people are going to ask questions. And I think that, again, for me, I've been working in this industry for 6 years or something.
Yeah.
Blows my mind when I'm like, of course. I wonder how many hours it went into deciding which button.
Yeah, it's crazy, the debates, and people get so emotional about it on the team. I love that. Like, that's what game development really is to me, is like a lot of really emotional, in-depth conversations between people that care about the products we're making.
There's a lot of arguments about it, like, I want A, I want B, I want A, I want B, I want to wrestle over and stuff.
Seriously, especially when it comes down to, morality and people's, like, cultural perceptions. So we have 16 different nationalities on the team. And so that just brings this crazy international
perspective. It's like the UN under one
it is.
roof.
It really is. So I had a totally different perspective on a lot of the themes that we're touching on Spec Ops Online when I arrived. And I think this evolution and this sort of conglomeration of different ideas really helped to make a unique experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, want to thank you for this.
Thank you.
And thank you for powering through whatever jet lag you're going through because, again, Germany is quite a hike.
Yeah, but it's nice being on the East Coast. It's not as bad.
Yeah,
So,
I guess
awesome.
you're used to flying to California.
Awesome. You and I are definitely going to hang out a few more times. Obviously,
Sounds
we're
great.
staying in the same hotel.
Yeah.
And you can't miss us. We're both bearded and bald, so mine's not as cool as yours, though, man.
Well, this started as a beta beard, actually, and
I can't. You know why I don't do it? Because I got this one strip of gray, so I'll look like a skunk if it gets that long.
hey, gray's cool, man. I'm starting to get some gray as well.
Yeah.
That's what happens with game development.
That's what happens with kids.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Corey, thanks for coming by, man.
No problem.
We're actually, before we bring in our next interview,
Yeah.
we have 2 guys that played the game already. We're going to just bring them in and get their
Sure.
thoughts and see how they feel about it.
Cool.
And this is really weird because...
I think we went to that cam again.
Hi, Cam. We're up there again.
Yeah.
I love that.
And for people who are coming in new, just in case I'm seeing a couple, what is this game? This is Spec Ops: The Line. It's in development with Jaeger, and you've just talked to the lead designer from Jaeger, Corey Davis.
It's a hardcore military shooter.
Yeah. And I'm Elizabeth Toby. I'm with 2K Games, and I'll be hosting.
Oh, come on. Give me your whole title.
I'm the head of community at 2K Games. Also other titles if I see fit.
I'm
but for the
Kona.
purpose of this discussion,
I am actually the owner of Kona's Corner Productions. We're here doing the live stream with 2K, and this is awesome.
they are bringing the technology that is making this go.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys
Dude, this
showing
is
everybody
great.
what's going on back here. It's awesome.
I appreciate being out here. I mean, really, I'm always so excited and enthused to be working, especially with a great developer and great teams that work with 2K. I mean, everybody, like I told her, everybody that we've worked with out here is phenomenal. Everybody is so, the communication is great. Everybody we talk to on the different teams loves talking about their games, which is awesome for us because I'm a gamer, man.
Yeah.
I want to know what they want to know, so that's awesome. If I can get the same, if I can go to you and say, dude, how did you come up with this? And you want to talk to me about it, that's what I want too. So that's awesome, you know?
Yeah, it's super it's a great experience to see people playing the game for the first time. This is the
And
first
getting
time
back
I've seen
in line for a second try.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome as well.
So
super flattering.
And I was around the booth. The line's getting longer and longer.
Oh God,
So
it's
that's
going to
really
be
cool.
hours by the time the weekend's
And
through.
that's the
I hope
funny thing
everybody
about
gets to
if you've
play.
never been to PAX. If you do decide to come and you know what games are going to be there, set your schedule because you're going to be in line for up to 4 hours on some of these
Tomorrow
games.
we're going to use one of our GoPros. You can go because we're going to interview those guys. We don't have
Yeah,
to
get out of here,
stand and
Corey.
pretend you
All right.
care.
I'll get back to the game.
Okay.
Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you
Corey.
so much.
We'll see you later, man.
Thank you.